Hello, random stranger. So, the second series we're going to be watching is Bloom Into You, the Japanese name of which is Yagate Kimi ni Naru. All I know is that it is a Yuri anime, my first proper Yuri genre anime, so I'm super excited to get started. This has been a long time coming. It has been recommended by a lot of people over the years on this channel. Quick reminder, if you'd like early access to these reactions and discussions, you can just head on over to my Coffee page to support me there. And you'll also find a lot of music reactions and analysis I do too. As always, this is going to be a time-synced reaction, so find a copy of your own to watch along with, and let's go. I'll count down in 3, 2, 1, play. That's beautiful piano, by the way. Just immediately sucked you into this very introspective world. Is that a confession text? It's so funny. I'm just thinking of Yui from K-On! Just non-committal, not very decisive. Yeah, indecisive. Just going with the flow, but not really going anywhere either. Names are so similar too. It's definitely got a bit of commitment phobia, unless something deeper is going on. It's probably related to like her struggle with the ideal of love and why it seems like only she struggles with understanding it. Okay, interesting. Oh, a classic confession scene behind the school sheds. I loved how the camera just like switched to her point of view and went to the wall. Well, when you ask someone out like that, I don't know if you should hope much for your success. Oh, that's okay. Nice setup for a classic hard to get person who finally meets their match. This has happened many times to her, these confessions. Nanami-san. Ah, nice orchestral swell. I love how they use the music already. Toko no nami. Okay. They're clearly setting her up to be Toko to be this stable, unmovable, solid sort of personality. But I feel like they're gonna really deconstruct that as we go on. She probably gets unraveled by you in some way. Still applies. They have yet to learn about girl crushes. That's terrible. Because I like girls. Girls in second year. Hey, there's those cherry blossoms. I was wondering when they were going to show up. Okay, the water imagery, is it because, under the water, everything kind of becomes distorted and it's kind of, you feel really, it's really hard to move through and you're kind of restricted. That would match with sort of this seeming lack of connection that you seems to have. Is Taka voiced by Minako Kotobuki? I swear, more than 10. Like it's this dirty secret. Maybe she's asexual. Like, that's also a thing. I wonder if they'll deal with that in this series, actually. Maybe they're both asexual. I mean, this is high school. This is where you're kind of exploring different aspects of your sexuality and trying to find something solid to land on, I guess. And if you're in the minority, like if you're not like everyone else who's just seems to be happily dating around, it's kind of like a really weird kind of struggle. And you don't really have anyone to talk to unless you find someone who's exactly like you. Man, that's quite persistent. Just like running to the one point of like connection that she's finally found, like someone who may be able to understand her. So it's not dumb, it's just human. She smiles too much. That's the smile of someone who's plastering over a lot of deep hurt. Earl Grey, my favorite. Just ask her. It is so hard to start a conversation though. Like, how do you even steer a conversation towards something like love and sexuality? That's one way. It's very assertive, seemingly assertive. An entire month. That's a lifetime. For high school as it is. Hmm. I wonder what she means when she says that she likes him. Just good feelings, really good friends. It's kind of really hard to draw that line between when friendship becomes something more. He doesn't have a face. The Kira Kira. None of it's real. None of it. The cherry blossoms of youth. She's not feeling anything. Yeah. You know what? At a certain age, through different ages, your conception of love will change. But from person to person, that rate of change is very different. Mm, that comes from a lot of practice. Ah, that is such a comforting thing to say when you feel like you're just not meeting everyone else's expectations of how you should be as a teenager. It's very mature. I mean, it's gotta hurt, but good on you, faceless guy. Took rejection really well. Oh, what? What? Are we just launching into this in the episode one? Oh, she's just waiting for someone who's like, I'm also not interested in anyone. Oh my god. Yo. Oh no. Oh no. That was a crazy ride just for episode one, wasn't it? I sense the setup of a long and arduous tragedy that will nevertheless be super fascinating to watch. Okay, so there's a couple of things that they've put or set in motion already. Oh wait, I just want to hear this Edie first. Yay! I love when they blend traditional instruments with contemporary ones like that. Yes, nice. The singer also sounds very familiar. I think I'm just shocked that they got the ball rolling so quickly in terms of setting up. I'm assuming there'll just be those two main characters, Toko and Yu, setting up their inner world and their ideas, confusions, and struggles with the idea of romantic love. Because it seems like neither of them really have a firm grasp or any sort of grasp on what love entails and how it should feel. And how do you know if you really have fallen in love with someone? That is completely normal and fine because they're in high school. Just before we move to episode 2, I really liked how they set up that significant similarity between you and Toko that allowed them to connect to each other in the first place. Namely, the fact that they are both very different to all of their friends around them at school, in that they have never truly experienced any sort of romantic desire for someone else. Yeah, the pressure to date during high school can really suck. And for the people who aren't really into that whole scene and just want to focus on other things, or they may, like you, be interested in the idea of love, but they don't want to just willy-nilly just experiment until something happens. So yeah, there is a certain subset of people who kind of have to find ways to fit in and not look like weirdos during that whole time period. So you and Toko share that struggle, but also there is this fascinating development already where they are both also very different to each other, and it is clearly going to be the source of conflict and drama and just cause for deep introspection. And that difference is that for you, there is this glimmer of a possibility that she just naturally doesn't experience sexual feelings or desires. In other words, she could be asexual or she could be aromantic. So when you don't feel romantically attracted to anyone, or she could be both. Toko isn't that. And I'm sure we'll learn more in the next episode, but it does seem like she has the capacity to be romantically attracted to someone. She was, case in point, immediately attracted to you as soon as she learned that you lacks romantic or sexual attraction to anyone. So ironic, I guess. And I can't tell if that indicates that Toko is attracted to you for the wrong reasons. I mean, in fact, I think it is a wrong reason. Like, she clearly doesn't know you on a personal level. And it's all very superficial at this point. I mean, because they've known each other for less than a week? Whenever someone claims to be falling in love with you despite not really knowing who you are as a person, that is always a big red flag, right? So I am curious to see what lies behind this immediate burst of love from Toko. Other than that, she seems to have waited her whole life for someone, her short life, admittedly, because this is, second year high school, for someone who is impossible to get or who won't reciprocate her love. Toko's confession at the end screamed insecurity to me. In fact, rather than being this declaration of love, it felt more like a broadcast of her deep-rooted fear of love. Because when you attach yourself to someone who's just told you that they don't know what it is to love and they don't even know if they can feel it, that is a clear indication that you yourself fear love and all of the risk that love entails, including the risk of rejection and the risk of being hurt by someone else. It was so weird. It almost felt like Toko was like buying insurance. She's like, here is someone who won't fall in love with me, and therefore it's safe to be with them because then I can't hurt them and be, I guess, responsible for that. There is a huge flaw in that thinking though, in that Toko might. Actually, I'm banking on the fact that Toko will genuinely fall for you, and then that's when you have a new problem of, well, actually I want this girl to fall for me and I'm the one who's getting hurt now because she isn't reciprocating. Anyway, that's enough speculating for now. Yeah, let's just jump into episode 2. Okay, Bloom into you, episode 2 in 3, 2, 1. Huh. It's like life is so complicated. mean, you can't blame her. Is that an oboe? Saiki. A sayaka. The other seppo. Okay. It's the perfect celebrity couple. That I feel like, if we're talking about the real world, if that had happened in the real world, Toko's confession to you like that would have been an incredibly brave slash brash move because, you know, as someone who, is same sex attracted, it's like, especially at that age, you're not really sure who would respond to something like that uh, in a positive way or at least in a neutral way. I think maybe now it's a lot better, but and I don't know when this was written, but say even just like 7 or 8 years ago, the acceptance of same sex relationships, uh, maybe especially in certain pockets of areas or in certain social circles, wouldn't have been looked upon very positively, and in fact could have resulted in a bit of backlash, and rumors just have this awful way of spreading. And yeah, there was a time when ostracization because you were same-sex attracted or because you admitted to being same-sex attracted was a real possibility. So she's a genius athlete, isn't she? That was not me in high school. What's with Sayaka? Maybe she knows and she's actually jealous. Are we actually forming a love triangle here? Oh, yes, there's that too. Sorry, jumped the gun a bit. Okay, this is just club politics. Is there? I don't know. I mean, that sounds reasonable, but it also sounds like she's coping. She needs to cover up the fact that she thinks that she's madly in love with you. That was a weird place to stand, just like right behind her. Oh, she's doing her hair. Wait. I don't want to read too much into things, but it does feel like Sayaka is also romantically interested in Toko. And she's been there the whole time. And everyone probably is like, oh, of course, you guys are a couple. I loved how they did that. It's like the surrender position. She's Toko's just like, oh, look at my two girlfriends getting along with each other. I hope they don't turn Sayaka into this evil antagonist or scheming antagonist. I do like it a lot. It's not hard. It's not easy loving someone who will never love you back. I don't think we've ever seen you smile yet. She always has that put out face, or like a pained face. Mm. It's the face of someone who is kind of just pushed along. They don't really choose where they're going, they're pushed by the winds of fate. Is she gonna deny it? Here's the recovery, here's the cover up. Yeah, I think it's not really about a gender thing. No, no. Oh no. Oh man, her emotional roller coaster, her feelings are just it's like that train just smashing through. I mean, wait, how does you feel about this? I mean, shouldn't you ask her if that was okay? I don't know. I'm just like, what? Are you okay? I want to ask you if she's okay. Mm, Maki. When she's with other people, she has that fake face plastered over her, Toko. Mm, just frown. And when I say fake face, I mean not that she's being fake, it's just more there's this mask that Toko wears with everyone except you. She has such high protective emotional barriers with everyone. I think it's amazing that you can just tell that from the way that the characters are drawn. I mean, I can't tell if Yu is uncomfortable being alone with Toko or not. I don't think she is. She's trying to just allowing herself to. It's like she's fallen into this river and it's this rapid running river that she can't dig herself out of. But she may not necessarily want to get out either. This is the second time this has happened, like where she does something rashly and then apologizes for it. I mean, it's very hard to tell the difference. Okay. First kiss stolen. Okay, so she's all right about it. I was like, that could have gone very wrong. Oh man, you do feel for her though, because it's like, yes, she didn't hate her, but also she has to figure out why I didn't make her feel anything. Ugh. So the kanji for her name is seven C's. Just interesting. Because we always get like you having these dreams or visions of being under the water, lost at sea. So Taka is her sea, the source of all confusion. Yeah, ironically, Toga is like super confident about every aspect of her life except for you. Okay, now you is just absolutely just coping. Because I mean, maybe she wants Toko to be exactly the same as her, but she's gonna be disappointed because it doesn't seem like Toko is either asexual or aromantic, or or at least experiences feelings in the same way that you does. Ugh. Can't even handle a slight hand brush. But what's you doing now? Is she leading her on? Or is she just like, is she trying to force feelings to happen? Great. She doesn't feel anything. That's so scary. Yeah, no, it didn't work. Man, it was an interesting twist though that you now is the one who's trying to not manipulate Toko, but she is using Toko in her own way. Like it's not just one-sided Toko just doing whatever she wants when you is around. Ugh. I don't know. It just seems like a recipe for a lot of hurt feelings in the end. I mean, that's exactly what you wanted, Toko, right? It's like no attachment. Oh no, is this gonna be like wheelchair off a contract? I mean, ah, oh no, I don't have great feelings about this, even though it makes for some really interesting dynamics. That's the kira kira that you is not experiencing thus far. Maybe it's a start of some small sparkles in you or not. Whoa, I feel like I know that Bloom Into You started as a manga, and so which I've not read, obviously. So I'm not sure how the pacing is in the manga, but I feel like we're definitely going at freight train speed for these couple of episodes in a good way, like not rushed or anything, but definitely so much happening in the dialogue and in the way that we're being made to understand what it is that these two girls want or are really struggling with. When Toko, quote unquote, stole Yu's first kiss, essentially kind of forced herself onto her, just waited for that perfect moment where no one was going to see. I was like, oh no, is this going to be one of those relationships where, because Yu is not a very assertive person, and is it going to be the situation where Toko kind of just decides everything and forces you to do these things or go along with things that she's not actually comfortable with? So that was a concern for a little bit, but then you see this very complex mutual kind of utility being developing between those two characters, because you see you also just take the initiative to grab Togo's hand, also when no one is watching. And she's studying her to see whether one, Togo has a reaction, which she does, and then two, whether she herself has a reaction, which she doesn't. And she's incredibly disappointed by that because she's like, I thought Togo was special, but clearly she isn't, because she has actually developed feelings for me, and yet here I am, still the same old me that only experiences love in grayscale. And then, of course, we have this verbal contract going on where Toko kind of laid everything out on the table, where she tells you that it's okay, that she knows you will never love her back, but to please let her love you in this one-sided relationship. And you says okay to that. So I said it feels like this is a disaster waiting to happen. And it's because both these girls are getting into a relationship for what are ultimately selfish reasons only. Now, of course, in any relationship, you have the right to have your needs met because we're all human, but there also should be the other part of the equation where you act in sometimes in self-sacrificial ways for the benefit of the other person. That aspect at the moment seems completely absent. Toko, she's in it just to have someone to love without the risk of it developing into a full-blown relationship and all of the drama and I guess the maintenance work that requires, while you, I think, is allowing herself to be drawn into this relationship because she's hoping it'll help spark something in her that she's been missing, some kind of breakthrough of her persistent inability to feel romantic love. Who knows how it could develop? Like, it could develop into a more healthy relationship down the track. I don't know. But at the moment, we're definitely watching two high schoolers just try to find a way to understand relationships. And that is a hard ask for anyone, really, at any age. So I do have also quite a bit of empathy for them. One other thing that I just note with regards to Yu's potential asexuality or aromanticism, that even putting aside questions of sexuality, there are in this world just some people for whom romantic relationships aren't the end all and be all, or even if they are in a relationship with someone, it doesn't take the full on romanticized form that many people experience it as, or a lot of media tells us it should be like. And that's perfectly normal as well. For example, there are people who choose to stay single and are like living their absolute best lives, or people in relationships where it's agreed that it's not about 100% commitment to being the other person's other half, but it's more of a casual arrangement where you each have your own lives, even as you are still in a relationship. You know, there's all shades of preferences and relationship types. And I love that we could be exploring some of those ideas in this series. Straight into episode 3 in 3, 2, 1, play. She's trying to resist the pull because obviously student council, it's essentially a proxy for Toko being close to her. Yu's a really interesting main character. It's like she wants to explore certain things, but at the same time she's hesitant to really go for things. Oh yeah, in the reaction series that I do of the show, where I tried to guess like the anime plot based solely on the OP or ED music by playing music theory, we actually did listen to this OP, and we were really intrigued by all of the flower imagery and the obviously the word "bloom" into you is a very direct reference to the fact that they're all really growing into their own understanding of romantic love and relationships and all that. I'm like, what does it mean when you is just standing in water all the time? And sometimes there is no blooming where her desk is. So yeah, I'll have to really deep watch like that OP again. Tucker has got to come up with more schemes to keep you next to her. Isn't there this whole trope where when you drink from the same bottle, it's like an indirect kiss? I mean, I guess at this point they've already had a direct kiss already, so. Dodgy. Hmm. Only child. Oh. Her family owns this store. Nice. Oh, Abacha is a badass. Meeting the family already, but we're really making these huge relationship steps every episode. Well, they're probably like, we've never seen you this committed to something before. It's so interesting when she has these conversations. It's like, ooh, are you interested in someone? And then, okay, that was an interesting reaction. And then he was like, no, it's the senpai. And then everyone else is like, oh, it's just a girl. But her older sister seemed to be like, oh, girlfriend? Hmm. Why? Why? What was that second thought? Is she experiencing like heartbreak or something? Like that senpai that she's been chasing for forever has shown zero interest. She probably already has confessed, but was rejected. Yeah. Awkward silence. No. I mean, that's what they all say, though. It's just to make it easier to digest. It could also be true, you know. I don't know. That sounds a bit dodge to me, but I'm just naturally cynical. Mm, yeah. But you got to cope somehow, haven't you? You just tell and spit in the truth. I mean, the truth is, there's no certainty with anything. Just you have to take risks. Oh, she's back already. You. He's just being so cold. She's not getting it. Not getting it at all. She just wanted to see you. Wow. And there's the relationship milestone for this episode. It's saying I love you. I mean, that's some progress, isn't it? I mean, she really is trying hard to feel something. It's just one of those things you just can't force ultimately. What was that? It's almost like you is engaging in this whole relationship more on an intellectual level than an emotional level. I mean, it's still engagement, but yeah. I wonder when we're going to have the episode where Sayaka can't keep up this charade anymore. And she's like, I love you. I don't want you to be so close with you. I think they probably need a bit more time to build up the tension. Especially when she sees how serious it's becoming, the Toko and Yu relationship. Yeah, but there's also a certain amount of pressure that comes when everyone expects you to be amazing and perfect all the time, which is why she probably loves you. It's because she can be herself in front of you. Like, you doesn't really expect anything from her. Oh man, is she gonna kiss her to give her some sort of energy? She can't. Because Saka is also part of the crowd that has this image of Toko in her head. Yeah. It's like she can't show any chinks in the armor. Her older sister. What happened to her sister? Or whoever that was. Also ironic because you is like, I thought you were special in terms of not being attracted to anyone like me, but you're not. Mm. That'll be a huge like booster for Toko. You need someone who's recognizes that you're not a superhuman. Is that hair thing again? Ooh. Is that like whoosh meant to be like, I guess, reflective of that kind of giddy feeling you get when you meet someone that you're like, wow, I really like that. Wow, that role reversal is really quick. Mm. I mean, she's probably been socialized to think that she has to be. Is she gonna forget the script and come out with something that is surprisingly honest and presents like Toko in a more human light? Even though it's all just a mask. Here we go. Here's the off script part. I mean, she didn't outright say all the things that she's actually thinking of how weak Toko is. She put it in a very nice way. Like, she made me realize that there are things that I can do too, to help her. I mean, that's good, right? It's the start of hopefully Toko realizing that she doesn't have to present a perfect front 24/7. And people will still love her and accept her for who she is, even though she's not perfect. Yay. That guy to the side. Oh, my life is over. Wow, that was, I mean, everyone else was there. Unless she just whispered that. Sayaka. She's got that like 50 centimeter rule. Just a barely veiled reference to the fact that the stars is what you was trying to reach. The stars being romantic love. The sparklies. It might happen. Who knows? The thing is, the stars that she's talking about reaching, it's more about being in a relationship that makes her feel something, makes her feet leave the ground and all of that. It's not really about the other person that she's going to be in a relationship with. If it wasn't Toko, it was going to be someone else, anyone who could make her feel that way. Speaking of Toko, it was sad to learn her story of when she was younger. She was effectively a social outcast with few friends, and due to that ostracization, whether that was self-imposed or not, it forced her to undergo a kind of personality surgery where she changed herself bit by bit to become this super popular person that she is right now. It is one thing to work on yourself so that you're not completely antisocial. That's already difficult, especially if you're not naturally comfortable with social interactions. But it is another level entirely when you go from being on the social edges to now being the one person that everyone pays attention to and fawns over and has these grand expectations of. And that transformation had something to do with the older girl in Toko's flashback, possibly an older sister, I guess, who had that same long black hair that Toko has now. And it's obvious that Toko's physical transformation into that was a proxy for the mental and the behavioral transformation that she put herself through. And so what would I hope for Toko from this point on? I mean, I hope that she figures out, or rather rediscovers, who she really is beneath the image and the mask that she's built up over all these years. And then after having discovered that, to accept whoever that person is. You know, we're all on these journeys of self-acceptance, corny as it may be to say, but it's true. Some of us have a much harder time than others for various reasons for accepting who we are. But the ultimate goal is always to embrace your authentic self. And that is where Toko's relationship with you could really do some wonders. I mean, already we've seen you give permission to Toko almost to just be herself and not this glammed up version of herself that she has created and works really hard to maintain in front of everyone else. I'm so glad that we started watching Bloom Into You. I think it's a beautiful show. Just as a whole, all of the imagery, like the underwater visions that you has, the music, the very classically inspired music, which really speaks to my soul, but also like the lighting and the design and all of these angle shots, they all work really well together to create almost this dreamlike state, which I think actually pairs well with the fact that this anime seems to be engaging in some pretty abstract and contested concepts about what love is or should be. And now another related aspect to that, self-acceptance, you know, and how the lack of it can impact your ideal version of love and impact your relationships with other people as well as with society at large. Oh yeah, actually, just a quick note about the character of Akari. I felt really strongly as I was watching these few episodes and just reflecting on the fact that how our ideas of love and what we think the most essential things are in a romantic relationship shifts and evolve as we age naturally. You know, as we experience life and absorb other people's knowledge, and sometimes, unfortunately, as we encounter pain and hurt, our ideas of what an ideal love is also change. And I thought Akari was a good illustration of that. In episode 1, she got really excited when you mentioned this like kakkoi senpai, but then just completely deflated when you said, oh, it's just a girl. So it's clear that she's not been exposed yet to the fact that romantic crushes can also be between two girls. We also saw when she had to deal with the disappointment of rejection, that she had to find ways to cope, and that love and being in love with someone, or even the idea of love itself, is multifaceted and it shifts in response to what we experience and what we learn from other people. So yeah, things can get really complicated and it doesn't always turn out the way that you expect it to or want it to. I think the discussions we're going to have about Bloom Into You are going to be really fun, you know, because you ask 10 people about what their idea of love is and you will get 10 different answers. You know, people grow up in different cultures and religions and environments, and they often have very different understandings of love and also of self-acceptance and all of that. I'm really looking forward to watching this with you guys. Leave any and all thoughts that you have in the comments below and I'll have a look and we can have another discussion next time when we watch the next few episodes. Take care until then, and I hope to see you soon.